Hi, welcome back to Reels with Laura. I love teaching confirmation and I want everyone else who teaches it to love it too. Today, I hope to share some really great info and tips on classroom management. This is part one because I have so much more information to share that it was going to be too long. So, part two will be individual student issues, and part one today will be about general class issues. Now, always keep your purpose and goal in mind as you think about how you want to manage your students, because one thing that makes a huge difference both in your class and how you feel about it is the kids' behavior and what you do about it. It's all about being firm but fair. Okay, you know why managing kids is one of the most common problems that pastors bring to me? It's because there is no seminary that has a class on dealing with middle school students. That's it. They probably handed you a catechism and told you to teach from it. Then you remembered how you were taught and you just moved on from there. But teaching really is an art because every class and every student every year is different. Every class has a personality, and we know every student has a personality. And that makes teaching an art because it can be a real challenge to figure all of these different personalities out. Now, contrary to what I was taught in teacher school, there is no such thing as classroom discipline. We don't have a discipline code. We learn how to manage a group of students by how we organize and teach a class and respond to student behavior. It's more about us than them. And here is the very first thing, my very first tip. It's the best tip of all, and I hope you can actually read it. Develop relationships. The greatest deterrent to bad behavior in a class is developing relationships with a student. Not kidding. You've heard that probably for youth ministry for a long time, and it goes for having a class of students as well. I've seen a lot of pastors try to be really cool or try to be friends with their students, and their way of doing it is to have a really cool attitude toward behavior and hope the kids behave because they like them. But make no mistake, if you try that method of classroom management, all you're going to get is a group of students that think that you're so cool that they can do whatever they want. And that's not really a very good management program. What you want is for them to respect you. And that comes from being yourself and showing genuine interest in them, talking to them as if you're honestly interested in their lives, knowing what sports they're in, or if they're in theater or anything like that, whatever they do outside of church. 3, sharing some of your childhood or school experiences with them. And 4, not sharing too many or too much. They don't need to know everything about you. It's just a point of contact. So, ask about the highs and lows at the beginning of class before you pray, and make sure that you pray for the things that they have brought up. If it's for a friend going through a tough time, if it's for a class, if it's for grades, if it's for a test, if it's for the big game, whatever it is, there's a prayer for it. And depending on the class, this alone may simplify your classroom management down to something as simple as an unhappy look in a student's direction. Don't forget that adolescents are motivated to please people they like, and they are looking for adult role models as they develop and solidify what they are going to believe. They're working through it, and they're going to need more than just their parents to be role models. And you might be one of them, or mentors, even that too. So it's a crazy world they live in now. Think of the things that they deal with that you never had to deal with. The next thing I should say, is Respect and consistency. These are huge in classroom management. If you have a class that doesn't have a problem being respectful to you and others in the class, well, you don't need to make a big deal about it until you do. Um, always, always call kids on disrespect or being mean to others without making a big deal about it. That is really important. Just do it simply. Just find a way. You could say, I used to say dude a lot. Dude, that's not cool. And then you walk away, you let it go. You don't dwell on it unless it continues to happen. And then you're going to have a personal conversation about it. But, somebody just makes a comment and you do, ouch, those kinds of things. It lets them know that you heard it, that it wasn't cool, and everybody else heard that too. Sometimes teens just need to be reminded what mean is. One or two disrespectful students can turn a whole class into an uncomfortable place for many others to be. They just need to recognize that and know that it's not okay. If your whole class does become disrespectful, that, I'm sorry to tell you, is probably because you're allowing behavior you shouldn't be. I have zero tolerance for disrespect and students being mean to other students. That's just the bottom line. And in my classroom, I had 3 rules. And in my confirmation class, I have 3 rules too, but I don't make a big deal out of them. I have never had a huge problem with that, probably because I call them on it right away. But it's respect for the learning environment. That is your rules for whether or not they can have food in class can be a huge disruption. Whether or not they're on time, whether or not they disrupt class. And it's best, honest to goodness, especially at this point, if they don't even bring their phones to class. No electronic devices. That's just it. Make it a standard rule. You don't need to use iPods, iPads, anything, or phones. Respect for property. That just means that if they chew gum, it's going to be on the bottom of that table and somebody's going to have to clean it off. That is not my favorite thing to do. I have had to do it. I don't believe that if I allow them to chew gum and it ends up at the bottom, that anybody but me should clean it off. It's also about sitting on and writing on tables. Tables are not that kind of furniture. That's not what they're for. And tables are not for sitting. Chairs are. And these are some of the rules that have gone by the wayside about how we respect furniture. Like everybody can just buy new tables. That's just crazy. Or books. If you hand out books that are going to be used next year, then they should be told not to write in them, and you should expect them to not write in them. The next one and the last one is about respecting each other. And this would include how they speak to each other, how they treat each other, not taking somebody's stuff. You don't borrow it without asking. You keep your hands to yourself and you use appropriate language. And the only time you might need these, if you're the pastor with a small class, these are not going to be for you. But if you're at a big church and you have a lot of students in each class, you may need these. Sometimes you just have to tell them what they are. These are my expectations. And then you call on people on a few of them. And that's all it takes. I had a girl in class who was bothering people, just chattering all over the place. And it was annoying me. And they were working on a project, but she was it was disruptive everywhere. So I called her on it. And I said, the people around you are trying to work. Oh, they don't mind. And I said, yes, but I am people too. And I mind. And so that took care of that. And keep in mind that today, songs, TV shows, and movies for teens, rudeness and mean jokes are the norm. Many of them need to know that being mean actually is not funny. It's just not. And you have to teach them that. You also have to teach them that you want to hear what they think, but it has to be done respectfully and within the boundaries of discussion. It's very important. They may not learn this at school. There are a lot of public school teachers who will let kids just disrespect each other. I just can't take that. And I certainly wouldn't take it in a church class. You need to teach them to be responsible young people. And if you do, and they just start being more respectful in general, and you will just have developed a great learning community. Uh, I got to tell you, out of all of my experience, I know that kids thrive when they know the boundaries. Little kids need rules. Older kids still need rules. Don't forget that. Just because, even if they can drive, even if they're 18, they need to have the boundaries that give them security. Let's see, if you are consistent about your expectations and holding them accountable for their behavior, they get it. It's not like it's too hard for them to understand, and they get used to it. They really do. You know, if you've got kids at home, you know they get used to it. They know what the rules are, and they learn that you expect it of everyone, and they feel safe in your class. And it's not just like safe from being picked on or poked or whatever. It's safe to share. You need a learning environment where these kids can share, because it will change your whole class, and they will discuss things and bring up questions of things that are real. The next one is planning. You may not realize that planning makes a difference. First, make it a rule. No cell phones in class. They'll survive, trust me. Next, you may be surprised to find out that 95% of behavior problems can be solved by using class time more effectively. Middle schoolers will fill any unstructured time, but it won't be the way you wish it would be. They're not going to open their catechism and start reading quietly. They're not going to sit there and suddenly work on their memory work. That's just not that's not who they are. So plan your class time wisely and keep them busy. We'll talk more about this in another reel when we talk about planning. You know, if you take the time to notice, you can see when your kids are disengaging. And it's not long after that, when you see them disengaging, that the shenanigans start. So pay attention to how you plan your class, watch your transitions, give them a short break, and make sure you're not talking all the time, because that's another one. You'll be standing up there, you'll look at the clock, and you'll think, oh my gosh, I've been talking for half an hour. That is way too long. The next one is, and the last one, don't compete. No teacher should ever compete for the attention of their class. This is also about consistency. Do not talk when they're talking. Just stop talking. Wait. And if they don't recognize that you have stopped talking, then say, I'll wait. Say it loud enough for them all to hear. I'll wait. Don't say it like you're mad. I'll wait. And look at the clock. Not your phone, but the clock. They'll either get the point or other kids will tell them to be quiet. Now, it's a possibility that a few will fail to get it. So then you just say to everyone, I'll just add 5 minutes after class for every minute that I have to wait after I say, I'll wait. One or two will say, oh, we have to leave right after class. My mom, blah, blah, who knows what. There's always a reason. Simply tell them that, don't worry, your parents won't mind when I tell them why you're late. They push, you stand firm. So you might be thinking at this point, well, what makes classroom management easier? Well, you have to remember that these are kids, and kids, like dogs, they need to be trained. That's why God gave them people in authority. He gave them parents, He gave them you guys, pastors, policemen, teachers, all of it, because they need them. And when kids finally can self discipline, everybody wins. Everybody wins. Okay, well, that's enough for this one. The next one will be about problems with individual students. And remember, firm but fair. And I'll be making more reels all summer. They'll be on my website, posted on Facebook. I don't think I have a single one on Instagram yet. I don't know if that's going to happen. And YouTube. Watch them in any order, but watch the first one first. It talks about the purpose and goals. Share them with a friend. Stay tuned for when we talk about parents and the planning session and scheduling and so many more things. So, if you have questions, you can find me at teachthefaith.org/confirmation. And until then, may the Spirit of God work through us to be the best teachers of the faith we can be for the kids, for the church, for us, and for the world. And may they grow in God's truth and grace. In Jesus' name, amen. I'm Laura Langhoff Arndt. I am the author of the book, The Art of Teaching Confirmation, and I'll see you next time.